Alright boys, welcome back to today's YouTube video. Today we're going to be discussing Spring Carnival, why you should have already started your prep, and why the Spring Carnival is the most important period of the year. Firstly, let's talk about why the Spring Carnival is so profitable.
The reason why the Spring Carnival is so profitable is because the quality of races and the promos available from each bookmaker. You have a bunch of different cup days, you have racing carnivals over in New South Wales and Victoria, but it's just the time of year where the promotions are at their peak. There's promotion and good race days on a Monday, that happens on a Wednesday, great races at Moonee Valley on a Friday night, but the races midweek during the Spring Carnival are better than the races on a Saturday this time of year. Our betting method and our strategies just work a lot better during this springtime carnival.
There's a lot more money in the market, therefore you find a truer value of the horse. You're also able to fly under the radar a lot more because there are a larger volume of people actually betting. Therefore there's less of a chance that you're going to get promo banned throughout the period because there's a lot more customers betting at that time of year.
And one of the big things is the market percentages are a lot closer to 100 than some of the market percentages you see during this period.
So let's actually explain a little bit more about market percentages and how that influences the results.
So essentially what the market percentage is when the bookmakers have the odds priced above a complete total of 100% in the market. So a true market percentage would be each runner, if they're added all up together as percentage, it would add up to 100%. Generally this time of the year, and most races throughout the year, the market percentage could be anywhere from 120 to 125%, meaning that the bookmaker is going to guarantee themselves 20 to 25% whatever the outcome of the race. When the market percentage are pushed above 100%, you're not getting the best value, or you're not getting the truest odds for that runner or a group of runners in that race.
So another thing that we've been hearing a lot as well is people coming from other groups into Crown Capital and they're just completely promo banned. They've just been encouraged to create a new betting account and just go in first week, start smashing promotions, rinse and repeat, get banned after a month or two and then move on to a new account. And honestly, we couldn't really believe it when we first heard that. That's the complete incorrect way to go about it. As we suggest, you shouldn't be touching your promotions for at least 30 days, and that's the reason why we mentioned prepping your accounts ready for the Spring Carnival. If you already haven't started acquiring new accounts and prepping them, you're most definitely behind, and you should feel the need to increase your urgency, set up more accounts and get prepared, because this type of year is such a good opportunity to make money. If you can prepare yourself, have a lot more access to promotions, etc., you're going to make a lot of money.
Like Jamar said, we have a lot of people join that have recently been in groups and just rinsing through a bunch of accounts, but they don't realize when you lose an account how much money and how much value you're losing with your betting operation or your syndicate. We have strategies in place where you should be keeping your accounts for 6 to 8 months minimum. Anything under that, you're obviously doing something wrong. We hear stories of guys coming in and keeping accounts for 5 to 6 weeks and then have to go through a new set, which is, it's shit, but it's okay if you have access to a heap of accounts. But a lot of people, like 90% of people, don't have that access. So what's the point in rinsing through accounts when it's just as easy to sustain those accounts for 6 months plus and make a hell of a lot more money out of it?
That's, I guess, the reason why we run Crown Capital or even make these videos, because there's a huge knowledge gap in this industry. A lot of people would make 2 times or 5 times or even 10 times the amount of money if they knew what we knew.
And I was the exact same at the start. So I started my match betting journey. I was doing it with a mate, and we were doing it by ourselves for about 1.5 to 2 years. And obviously doing it by yourselves, you're just making every mistake under the sun, and you're just kind of learning at a very slow pace from your mistakes. So at the start, we would have rinsed through tens and tens of accounts, just not knowing anything about account prep, sustainability, how to increase longevity of your account. And that completely all changed when I joined a mentorship, and I learned from someone that was better than me. And then from that day I completely understand the right and the correct ways to go about your match betting journey, because it's so easy to have small losses, whether it's to do with accounts or not knowing the right staking or general and basic information to do with match betting that compounds over the time. So if you're doing something correct in match betting, you compound your profits. It's the exact same when you're doing something wrong. Those errors compound every day, and it can make a huge difference to your P&L month to month and year to year.
There's a lot of you guys sitting at home watching this video right now, and you're doing the bare minimum, right? Just copy and pasting tips. You're not really interested in figuring out why the bet's being placed or how the decision's being made, etc., etc. But if you spend the next 1 to 2 months increasing your knowledge, learning everything you possibly can, it's only going to benefit you around the Spring Carnival time.
This is another frequently asked question we get around Spring Carnival. How much time should someone prioritize to set up their accounts before the Spring Carnival? So ideally about 6 weeks before the Spring Carnival, you really want to start prepping these accounts. Like we say, it takes around 4 weeks to prep up an account, place a lot of non-promotional bets, get the right system in place and get the bookmakers to review your account before you can hit promos, and ideally the longer the better. So if you can do that for 2 months instead of a month, you're going to have much greater longevity on your account.
Essentially, along the preparation side of things, you want to set up an account and strictly do non-promotional bets up until the time is right to trigger your review.
The biggest thing, and the reason why we go on about it all the time, is people don't understand the correct practices to put in place to actually get the most out of your accounts. Like, we see a lot of people come through from other groups that have just been smashing promos and they get one account banned after a month and they've got to move on to their next. With all our clients inside the ERT, we've taught them the correct protocol and the correct strategies to put in place to set up their accounts properly so they can have those accounts for at least 6 to 8 months to a year. And this is really crucial when it comes into Spring Carnival, because if you can have an X amount of accounts ready to launch come Spring Carnival, even if you're not up to using all those accounts and your unit size is much smaller than the accounts you have available, you can just rotate those accounts. And this is just going to increase the longevity of all those betting accounts that you have.
As soon as you do get reviewed and you have a sharp style of punting, you're instantly either going to get restricted that moment, or you're going to then be put on a watch list and they're going to just continuously review your accounts over that next 6 or so months. But if you put the right practices in place, you get reviewed and you have a mug style of betting behavior, they're going to completely put you on the back burner. It's unlikely they look at your account for that next 6 months, and most likely over that 12-month period. So that's why we always go on about the setup and preparation period is the most important thing you'll do.
Okay, the next topic on the Spring Carnival talk about are promotions and what promotions are available. So we speak about how profitable Spring Carnival is due to the promotions, due to the quality of races, the quality of runners, but there's also good promotions to use and bad promotions. During the Spring Carnival, there's a lot of traps set up midweek. A lot of traps set up where they'll offer promotions on a couple meetings and a couple races in that meeting where they want to see where match bettors are putting their money. They'll set up these promotional offers to suck match bettors in. This gives a clear indicator on who's smashing or who's abusing promotions and who's not. So we're going to go through all this with our ERT guys, what promotions to hit during the Spring Carnival and what promotions to keep clear of, because there are some traps that the bookies put out and you can get your accounts banned very easy betting on the wrong promotions.
With that being said, there are promotional traps all throughout the year, but they're going to hone in on it through springtime. They know that match bettors are aware of the opportunity at stake. Therefore, they're going to try and make the most of that Spring Carnival period. And when they do set up these traps, they're going to be watching you like a hawk. As soon as you fly in, start abusing the promotions, bang, you're instantly done and you've lost a whole bunch of value. Even if your sports bet account goes from $50 to $25 promotions, you've literally just lost half your earning opportunity.
Another question we get is, what is farming bonus bets and why is it so important during Spring Carnival? What we do and what a lot of top syndicates in Australia do is farm bonuses midweek to then bet on a Saturday or Friday night or whatever meeting looks the best on the day. What farming bonus bets is, like we mentioned, in springtime there's a lot of promotional offers, especially midweek, not just Saturdays like you see now. So what we'll do is we'll go on a Friday night or a Thursday or something midweek. We'll go look at race setups that look good for farming bonus bets. This is something that we go through with our ERT clients. But we find a race that has a good setup where we can clearly see a horse that's going to run second or third, and we back and lay the horse, obviously using the promotion on the bookmaker, laying the horse on Betfair, and accumulate bonus bets and use them to punt on a Saturday. This is a method that we've been doing for multiple years and had crazy success doing so.
So while we're on this topic, let's talk about bonus turnover.
So the biggest thing with bonus turnover is there's 2 different stages of turning over your bonus bets. You can either turn over your bonus bets and guarantee yourself a profit, back and laying that bonus bet. So you can either put it on a horse to win, then you go lay it off on Betfair and you can guarantee yourself around 80% retention. You can do it on sports by backing a team to win and laying it off on Betfair or two-way Dutching and guaranteeing yourself around 70%. Or the other strategy that we do, and a lot of the top syndicates in Australia do, is straight punting. So on average over the last few years, we've returned ourselves a much higher retention on just straight punting bonus bets. It's also a way less time consuming strategy. So essentially what we do, and a lot of you guys, if you're watching that are inside of our Discord, is when we receive a bonus bet on a Saturday from punting on a horse and the horse doesn't win and it comes second or third, we receive a bonus bet. It's obviously counted as a loss, but we receive a bonus bet and then we go and distribute that throughout the day on horses we think have the best EV or the best plays. It's a much less of a time consuming strategy, and you can have a much higher return if you're betting on the correct horses.
Now, with that being said, first scenario, back and laying and head-to-head Dutch bets is a lot more conservative. No risk involved, so that's what you would do if you had a lower bankroll. But as soon as you get a bankroll above that kind of 20 to 30k mark, on average, depending on the Saturday, we'll retain our bonuses anywhere from 80 to 200%. Now, obviously, you handle more variance, but you can afford to do that with a larger bankroll, as you are going to profit a lot more over the long term.
So one of our main strategies we do is trying to have educated risk. So betting is all about having educated risk. And obviously the more risk, the more variance, but the more potential and upside there is. So when we have guys join our Discord or join our ERT that have a small bankroll, we run them through the whole process exactly like I did at the start of back and laying a horse, taking minimal risk, but the upside is limited. But this is good for a small bankroll. When guys start to reach beyond a $15,000, $20,000 bankroll, we look into straight punting. A lot less time consuming, a lot easier when you have running multiple accounts, and the upside is much greater. So this is all dependent on bankroll, all dependent on your situation and how many accounts you're running. Another question we get is, do you guys bet on the Melbourne Cup? So we've mentioned how Spring Carnival is the most profitable time for match betting, and historically it's been the best 2-3 month period that we've had it with our betting journey. Saying that, there's also some days and some weeks to be very cautious and stay clear of, and Melbourne Cup week is one of them. Betting on the Melbourne Cup is probably one of the worst betting decisions you can make. Yes, the market percentage is much closer to 100%, but the fields are massive and you've got long price favourites priced at anywhere from $6 to $8. The Melbourne Cup is something we might put a small bet on for a bit of fun, as it's one of the most prestigious races in the world. But if you're a serious match bettor, you should be staying clear of this race. Saying that, the whole meeting on Melbourne Cup Day has historically been a very poor day. So what we say is during these periods, there's obviously a lot of money to be made, but it's very easy to fall in the trap of being a recreational punter because you get caught up on the hype of Melbourne Cup.
Now, Henry mentioned having a small dabble just for a bit of fun due to the race being a prestigious race, but you have to be very careful with this because losing 2 or 3 units a week over a month, 2 month, 3 month period actually adds up and significantly hurts your P&L.
But saying this, there's also a lot of service in Australia that are super green and squares and just do it by the books. We're definitely not one of those. We enjoy having a punt. We'll put a little bit of money on here and there, place a bet on something like the Melbourne Cup, but obviously proceeding with a bit of caution and not letting it get out of hand. Biggest takeaway there is risk management. And that goes for not only the Melbourne Cup, but betting in general. We say all the time to our ERT guys, you make your money from what you don't bet on. Meaning you can have a bunch of winners, and we see a bunch of guys inside of our Discord that are picking winners all day, but they're also betting on every race and have a lot of losses. So you can have someone that you sit next to that has only bet 3 or 4 times. You can sit next to someone that's only bet 3 or 4 times in a day that has a very good P&L. And you can sit next to the other person who's had a lot more winners, but a lot more losses as well, and their P&L is probably going to be negative. So you have to be super selective this time of year and in betting in general, because you make your money on what you don't bet on.
This also goes into account sustainability. So let's say hypothetically you would have bet on a Saturday for a 12-month period. Let's say, for example, your promotions on that account were going to get taken away on that 50-second weekend of betting. If you skip 1 week, you're essentially adding another week that you have promotions. So the main takeaway here is if you can decrease your betting volume, especially when it comes to promotions, you're just going to have your accounts for longer. So having a low volume of bets, a super high ROI, knowing when to not bet, and being very selective is the #1 most important thing that you should be focusing on.
So some key takeaway notes for this video is springtime. Spring Carnival is the most profitable time for horse racing and match bettors in Australia. To get your accounts ready and primed up now to then launch and scale aggressively during this period. Be super selective when it comes to your racing and picking horses.
You're better off betting less than betting more.
And be careful of the promotional traps come Spring Carnival. But this is a short takeaway video, so I hope you guys enjoyed. And there's more inside of our Discord.
If you have any questions that you'd like us to cover in the next video, drop them in the comments below. Like the video, hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you boys in the next one.